The season finale of Ahsoka concluded with Grand Admiral Thrawn giving a victory speech over a comm channel to Ahsoka Tano herself. He finished by letting her know that she was a worthy adversary, a compliment that is to be expected when such a great war tactician comes into contact with someone who truly gives them a challenge. But leading up until this moment, Thrawn has dealt with his fair share of challenges when Ahsoka arrived. By the time the Grand Admiral got around to reading her case file, he decided that it would be impossible to negotiate with the Jedi in any meaningful way. This was a result of the discovery that she was the Padawan of Anakin Skywalker. Thrawn predicted that she would be just as uncompromising as her master, furthering his decision that she must be avoided at all cost and left behind as soon as possible. It was going to be much better for both the Empire and the galaxy as a whole if he didn't engage or deal directly with Ahsoka Tano. Thrawn chooses his adversaries extremely well and is selective on who he enters the battle with. You rarely ever get to see Thrawn trying to force a fight that doesn't directly counter his own ideals towards the betterment of the galaxy. One might think that because he knew and respected Anakin, that he would try to work alongside Ahsoka, but in fact, it is because of his familiarity with the nature of a Skywalker and later Darth Vader that the Grand Admiral instead believes that Ahsoka is a detriment to the galaxy, one that she is trying to protect. So my friends, let's go ahead and jump into today's video and explore Thrawn's reasoning on why he fears and detests Ahsoka so intensely, justifying his final comments to the Jedi saying that Peridia is where she belonged. To begin to understand Thrawn's opinion of Ahsoka, we must first talk about his actual point of view. As it's understood by any of those familiar with Thrawn, he is not like any of the Imperial warlords that are remaining. He is no Moff Gideon, jealous of Force sensitivity and vying for power to feed his own obsessive personal image. Nor does Thrawn have a burning desire for revenge over the fallen Emperor and the downfall of personal allies. While he may have a bit of an axe to grind, none of these things define Thrawn's motivations nor his goals. When asked why he desires to have power, Thrawn simply states that he believes that there are problems that only he can solve, and he can't solve them unless he's the one in charge. Thrawn sees many problems in the wider galaxy and fiercely believes that he is the only man that will be able to solve them. Thrawn most assuredly sees himself as a savior figure, one man who would sacrifice his life and career in nothing but service towards the greater future of the galaxy. From the very beginning, Thrawn has only cared about the betterment of any organization that he pledged himself to. Some may even consider him as lawful neutral to some degree. When he makes a promise, he keeps it. When he pledges his allegiances, he dies for it. Along with these ideals, Thrawn will also take whatever action he deems necessary to ensure not only the survival, but the evolution of the organization he is a part of, even if it constitutes a treasonous or willful betrayal of an ally. This started all the way back in his days of being a member of the Chiss Ascendancy. It was a creed of his entire race to never fire the first shot on an adversary in order to keep their hands clean. However, Thrawn believed that his people's reactive approach would be their ultimate undoing since they were under the threat of powerful warlords in the unknown regions. Thrawn would proceed to not only violate the creed of the Ascendancy, but also betray the very foundation of his culture's beliefs, doing so with a series of tactically sound preemptive strikes on their enemies. And with this came a brutal truth. Though his actions and the actions he would continue to commit got him exiled from his home and thrown out of the Chiss Ascendancy, Thrawn would remain loyal to his people and never once doubted his choices, and stating that they were absolutely necessary. The thing about Thrawn that was true is he protected his people, as if he had not carried out these strikes, they certainly would have been destroyed eventually. He showed their enemies just how powerful they truly were when nobody else would. Even when the Chiss turned their back on him, Thrawn joined the Empire with the hope of being able to use Imperial resources to serve his people. At the time, Palpatine even questioned this, pointing out that there would be a conflict of interest should the Empire ever come to a disagreement with the Chiss. Thrawn, though, simply responded that now that he was a part of the Empire, his loyalties now lied there first and foremost. And as long as Thrawn's been in the Empire, this has always been true. That's because the Empire was the reigning force in the galaxy, one that had the strength of military and a sufficient amount of reach and control for Thrawn to actually make the differences and changes that he wanted. He was no longer a part of his own people. the Chiss, but now he extended his desire for stability and prosperity to every member of every species. What's shocking about this though, is we would actually see what the galaxy would look like under Thrawn's control. In Legends, Palpatine sent Thrawn with a fleet into the unknown regions on a mapping expedition. The both of them understood the threat of the Yuuzhan Vong, and it was Thrawn's job to set up a frontline defense against the extragalactic invaders. This defense project would be known as the Empire of the Hand, or more simply, just the Hand. What had once been an Imperial fleet setting up small outposts on a few worlds turned into a fortified beacon of safety, spanning over the entire system. Thrawn rejected the megalomaniacal ways of the Emperor, and rejected the idea of ruling by fear when he established his own empire. He would invite in worlds to join the Hand by allowing them to retain their own governmental body, figures, and even personal rights and freedoms. He only asked that the government answer to the Hand and allocate some land and resources towards the Empire. In return, Thrawn guaranteed the protection of these worlds, providing countless jobs for alien people by accepting non-humans into his ranks and established factories. In the end, all prospered under Thrawn. The work environment inside the Empire of the Hand promoted creativity and collaboration, rewarding members for tactically sound thinking and intelligent action. Thrawn's first goal was making the quality of life much better for those under his protection, and even when he returned to fight the New Republic, the Hand was still able to perform their function effortlessly and help in the war against the Yuuzhan Vong. All of this is to say that Thrawn's primary objective is to be the solution to all problems that plague the galaxy, the primary of which he believes is disorder. The biggest talking point of Imperial sympathizers is liking the stability and structure that the Empire had. There is a lot of disquiet around the New Republic, as well as their decidedly lax approach to taking care of the galaxy. It leaves far too much margin for error and too many ways for flies to slip through the web, so to speak. It was this exact kind of disorder that made Thrawn dislike the rebellion so much. He knew that if they were ever going to gain power, they would vastly exacerbate the very issue he was working against. And that's where we finally get into the reason why Thrawn dislikes Ahsoka. It is his opinion towards her that she is beyond her status as a Jedi, a rebel, or even the current enemy that he faces. Rather, Ahsoka Tano is a thorn in the flesh because of the kind of ideals she represents and the very way she operates. Thrawn's opinion on Ahsoka changed the moment he realized she was the Padawan of Anakin, a man that Thrawn knew and respected very much. During the Clone Wars, Thrawn had worked alongside Anakin at one point in time, during a battle where Anakin found his way into the unknown regions in search of the missing Padme. Over the course of their adventure, Thrawn came to not only respect the Jedi Order, but also Anakin in particular. While they came into a bit of conflict when the two had differing tactical ideas, Thrawn saw how brave and how uncompromising Anakin was to the enemy. In the face and odds that any sane person would bend the knee to, Anakin Skywalker continued to fight strong. When given only two choices, Anakin created a third. Never had Thrawn witnessed such conviction in any of his people, even as adamant as they were. To Thrawn, Anakin was the legend of the Jedi come true. This is the very reason he admired Ahsoka, and even commended her about the way she fought like the Jedi of old, impressed with her ability to fend off his forces rather than being enraged by it. In that same vein though, Thrawn knew that she carried with her the memory and will of Anakin. She would be just as hard-headed and difficult to deal with as he was. Thrawn spent much of his time fighting alongside Anakin, and he knew that it would be devastating to be on the receiving end of that type of Jedi. Hence, why he kept Ahsoka at a distance until the moment of escape. He knew that he could not predict her as accurately as he could other Force wielders, and because of that, losing was a real possibility. But another reason he deems her so dangerous, and dangerous to the galaxy, is Thrawn's opinion on Darth Vader. In the canon novel Thrawn Treason, Thrawn would work alongside Vader for a brief period of time, deducing that he was in fact Anakin. Thrawn, though, wisely kept it to himself. Towards the end, though, Thrawn discovered a truth that very few had come to the conclusion of, that Anakin and Vader were two different people. Vader had the tactical skill of Anakin and devotion to the Empire, something that Thrawn continued to respect. But he did not have Anakin's heart. Vader was cruel and ambitious to a fault. Thrawn knew this, and how to effectively use his own ambition to drive him towards a goal, but he also knew when to relent and pull back to fight on better grounds. Vader did not. Vader infamously never allowed his forces to retreat no matter what. Also, his penchant to kill off any subordinates that displeased or challenged him in any way was something that Thrawn hated. If all of that wasn't bad enough, Vader continued to labor under the belief that because he had the Force as his ally, he was better and smarter than anybody around him. That was not conducive to a unified empire. Put plainly, Thrawn believed Vader was bad for the Empire, and he similarly believes that Ahsoka would be bad for the galaxy. Thrawn sees the worst in people first. That is how he can understand and mitigate their weaknesses. He appears to be especially harsh on Force sensitives in this regard. He immediately wrote off Baylan and called him unreliable after hearing that he was sympathetic to the Jedi. The Grand Admiral's first deduction would be that Baylan would quickly throw the Empire under the bus in service to his own goals, and Thrawn was right. Thrawn believed that Ahsoka would follow in Vader's footsteps as Baylan does, and she would be the destruction of the galaxy even if she didn't realize it. If not by turning to the dark side and literally carving a path of destruction, but rather she would neglect leadership based on her alliance to the Force. These are the Vader tendencies that Thrawn despised and has tried to leave behind on Peridia. So much so that he doesn't even attempt to try to negotiate with Ahsoka whatsoever. He believes that she must be left behind. To Thrawn, by leaving Ahsoka behind, he is saving the lives of civilians. As if Ahsoka is in the known galaxy during the war, she is one of the greatest threats to Thrawn. She's also in the way of exposing the ineptitude of the New Republic. Ahsoka would only complement things as Thrawn would need to resort to more extreme methods to flush her out. He's trying to avoid that at all costs. But what do you think, my friends? Do you like our analysis on Thrawn's opinion on Ahsoka? Of course, I feel it necessary to say that of course the Grand Admiral in this rare case is wrong. But anyway, this is where he's coming from and why he believes that the galaxy is a better place with Ahsoka as a Ronin on Peridia. Let us know your thoughts and opinions on our analysis down below. And as always, my friends, may the Force be with you.